Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your continued support to this channel. I really appreciate you guys. If you're watching us for the first time, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell. Kindly don't forget to like and share our videos. Now, in the previous and the most recent appointments, President William Ruto appointed one Raymond Ogolla as the principal secretary to the Ministry of Interior. And very many residents of Nyanza, some leaders like Evans Kidero and Engineer James Reggie, lauded the president, and they say that if the president continues on this path, then come 2027, very many Luos will follow his political ideologies. But there is something that is still waiting for President Ruto, a very precarious situation which is going to be a litmus paper for him to prove his honesty to the Luo nation. You see, before the former president Uhuru Kenyatta exited power, he placed Lieutenant General Major Francis Ogolla strategically in a position to be the Chief of General Staff of Kenya. Mr. President made changes in accordance to the military council, that is the norm that guides the military. Lieutenant Ogolla was holding the position of a Major General. But in what many think that was a move to ensure that Mr. Ogolla was going to usher in the presidency of Raila Amolo Odinga. Former president lifted him and placed him the second in command in the military. Now the catch is this. In one of the affidavits that was sworn in the Supreme Court in the Raila and Ruto case, the lawyer that was representing William Samoei Ruto had alleged that at some point, in fact that was an affidavit from the chairman of the IEBC himself, Mr. Wafula Chebukati. Mr. Wafula said that at some point during the counting of votes, the Lieutenant Francis Ogolla came with a group of some senior staff of the security, and he alleges that they tried to cajole him and to compel him to change the results to the detriment of William Samoei Ruto. In fact, he says that they wanted him to declare Raila as the winner of the elections. And the chairman, Mr. Chebukati, continues to say that he stood firm and refused what he calls an attempted manipulation of the results. So this places Mr. Francis, the Lieutenant General, in a very precarious situation. And one person who finds himself between a rock and a hard place is none other than the President, Mr. William Samoei Ruto. Because under the laws of the military council, what is now called the Tonje rules, it indicates very clearly that you cannot skip one's rank. In fact, Daudi Tonje is one of the former chief of defense forces who served under the former president, the late President Daniel Toroitich Moi. And he made a lot of changes that all and sundry agree that there were changes that the Kenyan military had been waiting for so long. And one of the changes that he made is that when you are serving as a Lieutenant General, which I believe is the highest ranking in the military, as stand to be corrected, he said that as a Lieutenant General or the Chief of General Staff will be serving with his deputy, and then there will be other servicemen. and you have to serve for a mandatory one term of 4 years. And he set the mandatory retirement age for the military officer in that rank to be 62 years. He also said in what was adopted and is being implemented today that the Chief of Defense Forces position will rotate among all the military forces and the departments, that it will be rotating from the Kenya Army, the Kenya Navy, and the Kenya Air Force. Now, if you look at the arrangement as it has been, ladies and gentlemen, the current Chief of General Staff, Mr. Kibochi, the Lieutenant General Kibochi, is coming from the Kenya Army. And his predecessor hailed from the Kenya Navy. And that means that the next Chief of Defense Force of Kenya must come from the Kenya Air Force, because that is stipulated in the military laws, and it has to be passed by the military council, which is the council that will write and recommend some of the recommendations that must be implemented by the president after it has been presented by the Minister of Defense. And so, looking at the way things are, ladies and gentlemen, William Samoei Ruto has got no option but to ensure that he promotes the Lieutenant General Francis Ogolla to the level of the Chief of General Staff. Why? Because Mr. Kibochi's term, I think, ended somewhere last year. But the laws also allows the president to extend the term of the military boss for a term not more than 1 year in situations where we have an emergency or a precarious election on conditions and situations that are unknown. The president is given some leeway to extend a period for leadership of that military man. And this is what President Uhuru Kenyatta did, because we were facing a very hotly contested election, so he allowed Major General Kibochi to rule for, I think, sometimes. Now, very soon, his term will be ending. And the man who is poised to take over from Major General Kibochi is none other than Francis Ogolla. He is the same person who Mr. Chebukati and the team of lawyers who are representing President Ruto claims that they did not want Mr. Ruto to take over, to be the president of Kenya. Here is the president who must uphold the rule of law, who must must abide by the laws of the military, because as the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces, he is bound by the military laws that have been implemented by his predecessors. The only leeway that President Ruto has is this one, and it is a trick that his predecessors have used before. In 2014, the former president Uhuru Kenyatta decided to retire Major General Jeff Otieno, who was heading the Air Force, because he was poised to take over as the Chief of General Staff, and he immediately made him to be an ambassador in Cairo, so that he could pave way to someone who was under him, who was promoted to take over, because he did not want Jeff Otieno to take over. So under the military laws, there are bylaws that President Ruto can use, because the laws say that they can be amended from time to time, ladies and gentlemen. And this is why I'm telling you that William Ruto's litmus test will come when he finally confirms Lieutenant General Francis Ogolla as the Chief of General Staff, to allow him to head the whole military. Because as it is now, many still feel that the reason why he hurriedly gave the Luo Nation that position of permanent secretary in the Ministry of Interior is to make them happy, so that when the time comes, when he will be making changes in the military, because Major General Kibochi, who is the current Chief of General Staff, is about to go. His tenure is ending anytime soon. He will ensure that he gives someone that role. He might decide to send Major General Francis Ogolla to compulsory leave and then appoint him as an ambassador, because William Ruto is not yet done with appointments. He started by the ministers or cabinet secretaries, then Juzi, he appointed the PSS. We are waiting for board members and parastatal heads, and then there will be ambassadors. Everyone is watching the president very keenly, because we think that he might decide to retire him and send him as an ambassador. But if he makes good his idea, because he started luring and endearing himself to the Nyanza nation and the Luo at large, if he makes Major General Francis Ogolla, the lieutenant guy, as the Chief of General Staff, then we know that number one, William Ruto is magnanimous. Magnanimity is working with the people who are viewed to be your nemesis, your enemies. If he upholds and forgives, because I want to believe that Major General Ogolla was acting under some orders, if he works with him, confirms him as the Chief of Defense Forces, ladies and gentlemen, then he shall have confirmed beyond reasonable doubt that indeed he's the president who is working for all. And that's why I was saying that this is going to be his litmus test. These are my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, about the whole situation. Am I reading too much? I would always want to hear from you. Please share with me in the comment section to hear what you understand by this about all the appointments. Thanks for watching. Until we meet in another video. Cheers.